All right, everyone, welcome back to yet another video. It has been a minute since I have been on iRacing. Just took a little bit of a break. And we're here with some top split Formula 4. I love some good old F4, especially around the UK tracks. So we're at Snetterton today. I said that terribly. Snetterton? Probably a better way to say that, I would think. Anyways, I will cut throughout this video and skip ahead and skip all the boring stuff, but for the first few laps of this race, this was just absolute carnage. So we're just going to keep this rolling for like 3 or 4 minutes here, and I'll talk you guys through what was going on. Looking up to the inside here, this guy right in front of me, Victor, I want you to remember that name throughout this video because we're going to cut back to that later on. But yeah, top split. It's been a while. I haven't been racing that much, so I was a little rusty, so I started towards the back, which we ended up gaining our time back later on and getting faster through the race. But you could see things really checking up here. There was a lot of battles going on. Victor getting squirrely up ahead there, and everybody was just getting after it. But this is why I love Formula 4, especially if you're racing with good drivers around you. It is so much fun because everything is so compact and so close. And plus, this track, I don't race Snetterton that much, but what a great track. Super fun. As we got 2 people flying off over there. I believe Victor was involved in that one. So not the first of his incidents that's going to occur in this video. But 3 wide going into this corner right here. This is such a high-speed section of the track. And so I knew that something was bound to happen here. So I really check up second gear in what is normally a high 3rd gear corner. Just slowing down and letting things unfold in front of me. As you can see, it's just very, very busy between this group. This was one of those races where you could have 10 different people that could have finished like P5. So everything was super, super close. Going around the outside here, this I did not take a liking to. You can see in the camera I don't have much of a reaction to it, but in my head I was thinking, what the heck is he doing? But I will give him the benefit of the doubt. He could be driving on a single monitor. I, of course, have triples, so I can see him a little better to my left. But you never know. Somebody could be driving on a single monitor. He may have just not known that I was there. And I don't blame him, especially because of what was going on in front of us. There was a lot of action. He locks up a little bit, though, and so I try to look to the inside. Wasn't really able to get anything done, so I decide to kind of step out of it for a second here and rethink my attack and figure out where I'm going to try and make this move. So right here, I decide I'm going to try and outbrake him. And so really, really late on the brakes, and unfortunately, I get a little bit of rear inside locking on the left tire there, and so it's a little squirrely. You couldn't really see that in the onboard there, but that is what happened. So I unfortunately switched back with him, getting a little pressure from behind as well. I didn't even notice that while I was racing. I knew I was definitely faster than this guy, so I just had to pick my moment of when I was going to overtake. And luckily for us, we have a giant straight here, one of the longest straights for a Formula 4 car, I imagine, on the calendar. So that's just going to help us go right around, and he very kindly gives us the outside so we can complete the corner, and we end up getting that move done. And that is probably the last time I will be using second gear for that corner throughout this video, because then we can continue later on. Right here, I wanted to include this. We've got a car getting launched over this Prema right here. That was something. I guess the Prema sent it over the curb, and of course, as they always say, hold your brakes when you're about to spin out, and he didn't, and he comes flying across the track and takes somebody out. Unfortunate. This one, another one. This was quite interesting here. This guy just sends it a little too late and gets on the power too early, and I luckily just barely avoid that. Quick reaction times. I do get a 2x out of it, and then right here I send it into this corner to check if I have damage because I forgot to reactivate my spotter with the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack. More cars flying off here. Just wanted to include this because it was very, very chaotic. And yeah, things were just getting crazy. But yeah, I had no spotter, and so I didn't know if I actually had damage or not, but the car felt fine. Right here, Victor has returned, so I'm going to blow up the mirror. There you go. You can see that. And he just absolutely chucks it up the inside here, and I really didn't want to get taken out, so I figured, you know what? He's already taken himself out twice. I am just going to let him go through and continue with my own race at this point, which we do have a little bit of a scrap here, a little bit of inside locking there from Victor, as you can see. So just trying to follow his footsteps a little bit. He was very fast, but also very aggressive and almost a little bit out of control at times. So everyone's got their own driving style. I tend to be a little bit more consistent. And even though I probably have the potential to be really, really fast like that, I actually tend to take some percentage off so I can be more consistent and just keep myself on the track. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you want to get higher iRating, especially if you're in the 1,000, 2,000 range and you want to get above that, it's all about consistency. Right there, that was a little bit of a mistake. I was very, very slow through that corner, and I noticed that, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to brake a little bit earlier this time and carry a little bit more entry speed in there, and it actually worked perfectly. So I was able to correct my mistake live there, and that's just very important when you're sim racing, noticing things like that. But you can see this giant queue of cars in front of us, and of course we eventually had to catch up to that. So now we've got this giant train of cars here, and what is going to happen with this? Pretty much anything you could imagine could happen here. So I just, since the fact that I was the last in line, that kind of changed my approach a little bit. Because I'm behind everybody, I don't really want to get in the mix of their antics. If I was actually in that, I would probably be a little bit more aggressive, because people are probably going to be a little bit more wary of things since everybody's so bunched up. And so for me, I'm just going to stay back and let them figure it out and solve it, and I will choose my opportunity to pounce on an opening. So right here, same thing, just continuing with that motive. I am just sitting behind, waiting for things to open up for myself. And this last corner was very interesting as well. A lot of people checking up through here. It's such a hard corner, so I don't blame anybody for the type of driving they do through there, just because there's so much lateral load to the outside. But interestingly enough, things just didn't really pan out with this train of cars. Everybody was very respectful. I think there was only about one overtake made throughout this whole thing. I make a little bit of a mistake there, and unfortunately, as we go down the straight, I quickly realized that that was probably going to be the end of that, and you can see by my reaction here, I knew that was pretty much over, and I was not going to get any more positions out of this race. But everyone did kind of check up at the end here, as I was talking about, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I could get somebody right at the line, but it just didn't really pan out on the throttle. So out of that one, I think we started P20. We finished like P12 or something like that. All the maniacs stopping on the right side of the track towards the end there. And yeah, I guess we go on to our next race at Tsukuba. This is a great track. I absolutely love this track. Fantastic. And especially in a Formula 4 car, this was literally like short track oval racing for open wheelers. I mean, this was just so much fun. I had a plan right off the start. I wanted to get to the inside of T1. For my newer racers out there, if you want a little bit of advice on how to get out of incidents at the start of a race, maybe you find yourself crashing a lot, try to get to the inside as quickly as possible, because that means you dictate the space and you're not going to get taken out by anybody that potentially brakes too late or anything like that. Unfortunately, the only downside with that is you have to be aware in your mirrors that no one is going to outbrake themselves, and you have to trust the people behind you, which in sim racing, of course, we can't always do that. But luckily for me, things were okay in this lobby. This is a much lower strength of field, but as you can see, our leader, Victor, has returned. So from the start, I knew this race was just going to be a battle between us three right here. We are far higher iRating than everyone else in the lobby. We did have a little bit of pressure from the driver behind, Sergio. Even though he had a lower iRating, he was pretty quick. But I knew as soon as I loaded into this lobby, it was just going to be the three of us battling. Very important as well. Lots of lockups coming on from Victor here, but you can see he's driving on the grass. I wouldn't take that so seriously because this is on Asian servers, so my ping was super, super high because, of course, I live in the United States, so I had like 230 ping playing on this server here, so things may look a little wonky at times, but there were a few lockups that were genuine, which I think one is coming up right here, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he is going to inside lock like crazy, go very wide, and James looks to capitalize off of that, and look at that, they just run into each other there. So that was very, very close to being an accident. And I almost fortunately got the lead out of that, but it just didn't quite pan out. Of course, I don't really ever want to see anybody crash. I'd love to actually be able to race it out with everyone, but I'll always take a freebie if it's offered up on a plate like that. So unfortunately, we miss out on that one. And I just kind of had to really sit behind these guys. I couldn't really do anything because I was quick enough to keep up with them, but I wasn't fast enough to actually surpass them, which is going to lead us into our next bit of the video here, the traffic. This is why I said this is like short track racing for Formula cars, because obviously in oval racing with short tracks, the traffic plays such a factor, and this was like the exact same thing. There was so many lapped cars in traffic that I had to maneuver through that I just, you know, it felt like I was in a completely different racing series than an open wheel race. So we're gonna have to really use that skill to our advantage. Of course, I guess you could almost equivalent, whatever word you want to use, to multi-class racing in a sense. So obviously car spinning out there, that's going to slow these guys down a little bit. So this kind of bunched us back up together. I think they were doing like 52.4 and I was doing about 52.6 to 52.7 per lap. My fastest lap I actually did was a 52.3, so I had the pace to lead this race, but I realized later on once I checked the score sheet that the leader was doing 52.1. So that's why, you know, you add everything together, it made sense that I wasn't able to pass them. Right here, this Renault just decides to park it in the middle of the track. I thought I was going to hit him, but luckily he disappeared and towed at the last second. More traffic right here. I wasn't a big fan of this one. This driver decides to pull off to the right there to let the leader through, but he didn't let us two through, which really broke apart this battle and changed the entire landscape of this race. This made things much harder, and I thought for a split second here that I was going to go for this move very, very, very quickly, and then I decided to back out of it because I was like, you know what? I could really fight James here for P2, or I could risk it, let him kind of pull away a little bit and catch back up to Victor, and then we both can fight for P1. So I was playing a little bit of chess racing there, and that's why I decided to actually not overtake him here and let him catch up and have us work together so that we could battle Victor in the end and fight for P1. Because at the end of the day, in a race, I want to win this thing. I'm not satisfied with finishing P3 or P2, whatever it is. I want to win a race. And so I chose what was the best decision to win the race, and in my opinion, I think that was the right call. So for you younger, I keep saying younger, for you lower iRating drivers out there, if you want a little bit of help on some decision making, it's things like that that will make a difference for you. You may think in the moment it might be better to overtake somebody, but it's actually better off to let them pull away because you guys will gain time instead of losing time. So just a little bit of insight there on some stuff like that. What is this next clip coming up? I don't even remember from cutting this video up. Okay, this one, this is where things get really, really interesting. Out of absolutely nowhere, you can see Victor just drops it. And so we're going to take a look at that again because that really, really surprised me during this race. I didn't think he was driving that sporadically, but the more we watch this back, I don't know if this is my ping or if this was the actual driving. You can see he just dips the entire left side tires onto the grass, and I think that's what causes that spin. Luckily, he's able to keep it out of the wall, so he can just loop this thing around and bring it back onto the track. But this proves that our decision-making really helped us out here. Then we got somebody spinning here. I know you can't really see him, but he was on my left monitor. He didn't really back out as early as I thought he was going to, and so I lost a lot of time there, and that really, really dictated the rest of this race. That pretty much solidified this thing for James because it's such a small track that 7/10 isn't like 7/10 on a longer track where that draft could really help you. You really needed to be within like 2-3 tenths to be able to pass somebody here. And that pretty much wraps this thing up. The next flag is going to be the white flag here for this lap. So this thing is going to be done and over with. and we are going to finish pretty much P2 out of this one because nothing else happens. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed this new style as well. Tried something a little bit more chill, some post commentary instead of doing it live, because I feel like I can actually focus on what I'm talking about when, if any of you watch my older videos, you know I stutter like crazy while I'm actually driving because I can't think I can't talk and drive at the same time. It's hard for me to think doing both. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to try and get like 1 race video up a week, maybe 2. We'll see. Trying to be a little bit more organized with my schedule and stuff like that. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe. If you are new here, leave a like on the videos. It really helps us out. And I will catch you guys in the next one. See you later.